Rick and Morty Season 7 is finally here! I waited so long and it's really good, just as I always knew it would be. Oh, they kicked out Justin Roiland and replaced his voice? Okay, that's weird. Well, let's see how that goes. First episode of Season 7.
Anyway, then I got fired from my job, my wife left me, broke both my legs.
Oh, I see. They just hit us with the worst voice in the entire show that we won't notice the voice change? Good thinking. But now we have to put up with an entire episode of Mr. Poopy Butthole. But it's fine, Bird Person is here, and so is Squanchy and Gearhead. Oh, we're getting the band back together, hell yeah. This episode was mostly fun, but I hated Hugh Jackman and the Predator, but everything else was great. Oh, and oh my god, Mr. Poopy Butthole's wife? Why? She is even worse than him, she has an even worse voice. So terrible, ugh.
Definitely where you should start.
Also, I called it, you know. Mr. Poopy Butthole, he is still a parasite, and he always was. Rick is just okay with having a parasite be his friend. He's just implanted that memory of him getting shot by Beth in everyone's mind. So he's the only parasite that has the ability to make negative memories, and that's why Rick lets him live. Okay, I know, nobody agrees with me, but I won't let this go. Alright, episode 2, the Jerick Trap. The first episode was already good, but this one is even better. Rick and Sherry have an accident. But when they're finally healed, their brains are scrambled together. The two new people who are created are called Burger and Fry. These are two lovable idiots with crazy sci-fi powers, and they are the best time that Rick and Sherry have ever had. Awesome premise. The whole incident was caused by Rick and Sherry being complete dicks to each other, but when their brains are combined, they are pretty cool together. But sadly they don't really take care of the family enough, so they have to go back to their awful normal selves, just to save the family. Makes sense. Of course, a banger of an episode, lots of cool details. Really wish we got more Rick and Sherry episodes. I know this would be an amazing episode just from the title, The Jerick Trap. Just knowing that Rick and Sherry are together in it as main protagonists is the best. And then when they combine into the human centipede that combines Rick and Sherry, the episode reaches peak. Too bad Rick and Sherry don't learn to get along better from this experience. Or maybe they will eventually. Maybe they'll even hang out as Burger and Fry again later. Oh yeah, and Morty was captured by a drug kingpin. Pretty fun episode. Episode 3. This episode features many of my favorite characters of all time, such as President Curtis and Unity the Hive Mind. Also, Dr. Wong is here. I used to like her, but she's really terrible in this episode.
All right, I'm going to commit a cardinal sin in couples therapy here. But Rick, I think you're wrong.
Bringing you was a mistake.
What are you talking about, Dr. Wong? How could you possibly take Unity's side here? You are truly spectacularly bad at your job. Rick ignoring his ex is perfectly normal. And then she comes and takes over the Earth, and you are on her side? What? You didn't even hear Rick's side properly. I mean, I think he just deflected when he said he was ignoring her on purpose. I think when we hear later how close these voicemails are together, I think he might have just missed them. He might have just been out on an adventure, you know, killing the Loch Ness monster or whatever. But then you blame Rick for the situation that got even worse? You know what made the situation worse, Dr. Wong? You did. If you hadn't dumped Curtis, he wouldn't have taken over the Severed Hive Mind.
Since you're asking for feedback, my sincere advice is that you overcome your need for approval.
You destroyed this man with one line of analysis, and then you bailed. So hungry for approval, he then chose to take the whole world hostage with this hive mind. Rick's plan would have worked fine if he hadn't fucked with the president. Wong, your advice is becoming more and more trash. Remember when you told Rick to just ignore the bad guys that were haunting him and threatening everyone? Yeah, nothing bad could possibly happen with that one. Yeah, just let the villains run rampant. Good idea. Damn it, Wong, you were the chosen one. You could have fixed Rick, but you're just making things worse at this point. But I don't blame her for dating the president, by the way. That's fine. Rick wasn't taking his therapy seriously. He was a hologram at the start of the episode. And now he wants you to not date the president when he's clearly into you? You're fine on that one. Maybe it would have actually helped Rick become a better person if he accepted that the two of you are dating. But why did you then immediately dump Curtis? Did you try to date him only because it was forbidden? You sick freak? Okay, whatever. At least your stupid ass analysis of Rick convinced Unity to help, so I guess it wasn't all bad. Only mostly. Worst therapist or not, this episode was amazing. Unity comes to visit Earth by taking over Virginia. President Curtis assembles a really weak, useless team so that he can attempt to ask Dr. Wong on a date. But then Rick has to save the day. I love it. So many levels of things are happening and the characters are behaving in a way that makes sense for them. I also love that there's this one reporter who is really hostile towards the president and brings up all his failings from the previous episodes.
Oh shit, Shonda came to play.
The scene where he is checking his phone to see if people are getting a good view of him saving Virginia is hilarious. It's amazing that Rick has an anti-Unity weapon. He probably realized it was Unity pretty early on in the episode. And Summer realized it too. I love this exchange between Rick and Summer. Summer is pretty smart and she's putting all the puzzle pieces together, but both the characters are just huge assholes to each other and they can't help but escalate this exchange until they both end up yelling at each other. Okay, Rick has a lot on his mind, but he was extra cranky this time, oh my god. And then he apologizes in silence.
Sorry.
Good times. Then Unity leaves, but Curtis takes over the people who were part of the hive mind and becomes his own hive mind. But sadly, this makes him go insane. Too bad. It would have been nice to see what he could do if he was actually allowed to control the whole world. But yeah, it probably would not have ended well. Then we have a cool fight where Unity takes over the entire world and then releases it just for Rick. Ah, how romantic. I really wish these two would end up together one day. Maybe that's what the season finale should be. By the way, in the fortune cookie episode, we saw Rick getting a fortune that he would get a call from his crush. So I was hoping that Unity would show up, and I was overjoyed when she actually came back. But she might be a little out of control here. Why is she taking over so much of the universe? Is she going to be a big problem? Obviously the show would be pretty boring if all the aliens in the world would just be controlled by Unity. So that can never happen. Episode 4.
Ricky, it's like it's better every time! Hell yeah, you like that? That's some good spaghetti!
I'm spaghetting too! I sure hope nothing happens to spoil my appetite. Okay, so everyone loves this episode. I'm not too impressed by it. It's just another episode where Rick teaches Morty a lesson by being a total dick in order to make Morty obey him. Rick has fed the family spaghetti made from human corpses for weeks. Rick, you fucking piece of shit. Then Morty finds out, of course, cause Rick just does it in the garage with the door open. He probably wanted Morty to find out, just to get him under the thumb for the next episode. By the way, at this point I don't even hear the difference in voice actors anymore, but I think it would have still been better to make Rick more different, cause as he is now, he's just a copy of Justine's voice, and therefore just a cheap copy. I almost wish you had given him some kind of crazy voice like Christopher Walken. Then nobody would complain that he sounds different, cause duh, of course he would.
You wanted a universal remote control that remote controls your universe.
We got the funk, yeah!
Oh, Morty likes it too.
When they replaced Homer Simpson, it was a noticeably different voice that everyone now loves. I also like the British voice that they did for Corvo in The Solar Opposite.
Alright, chop chop, let's get a move on. I hate being late, it makes me feel hot and weird.
You make me feel hot and weird.
This new voice of Rick, it seems fine, but it could have been better. I'm not saying that it's worse than Justin, but I think it could have been better than Justin. Like, Justin was okay at the start, but now this show has become so big, they could have some serious talent doing this, you know? And some people out there wish that Justin would just record a voiceover for all the episodes. But we all know he won't. If he did, then we would see how little he has to offer this show. Anyways, the spaghetti episode. I think Rick wanted Morty to go to the spaghetti planet and tell them about the spaghetti, so that Morty would ruin the spaghetti night as well as the spaghetti planet because nobody can handle the truth. The lesson here is don't question Rick. Don't think you can fix anything. Also, Rick specifically demands that Morty doesn't say no to him for 2 weeks. That's definitely important in the next episode, right? But then Rick doesn't help Morty very well. All his solutions were just problems in disguise, and his torso spaghetti are notably gross, no wonder that nobody would like them. Rick could have just synthesized spaghetti from the start. It would have been so much easier for him. Just go to another reality and steal the spaghetti sauce there, then copy-paste it over here. Okay, I already don't like the premise of this episode. This didn't need to be an episode, but I'm glad that everyone else liked it. Whatever. There's no such thing as a bad episode of Rick and Morty. This is why the fanbase can't agree on what the bad episodes are. But what really rubs me the wrong way here is that this episode is vegan propaganda. The spaghetti comes from suicide victims, which is unethical, like the meat industry. Get it? I like veganism. I like that more and more foods actually have a tasty and nutritious non-meat alternative. But Rick isn't a vegan. Rick isn't a good person. Rick is a cannibal, a slave owner, and a destroyer of worlds. Rick is teaching Morty to enjoy the meat and not ask how the sausage is made. But Dan Harmon wants us to see meat as bad. Why is it spaghetti then? The spaghetti I ate at the start was vegan. It was delicious. Clearly Rick's spaghetti has some kind of crazy dopamine flavor which makes everyone go crazy. Look, Summer destroyed her phone. Do you know how much it would take for a teenage girl to willingly destroy her phone? I don't think she would destroy it to save Morty. Does this mean that in this analogy meat is just that good? That we can never be this happy unless we keep up the murder machines? Why does Rick deliver this episode? Rick knows what the show is. Rick doesn't respect morality. Rick breaks the fourth wall all the time. I'm pretty sure Rick edits his own episodes of Rick and Morty. Why would he allow an episode of his show to have this message? Is he trying to undermine it by being the biggest cock ever in it? Is that what is good about this episode? But is he proven right at the end? The family loves the unethical steak, even though they might actually kill themselves if they knew what it was. This is insane. We know that Rick can create a chemical that makes you think that all your wildest desires have become true. Rick doesn't need the suicide spaghetti to make himself or the family feel better. And Rick talks some nonsense here about cells eating each other and therefore cannibalism is okay. Does Rick not understand that eating cells of plants is infinitely more ethical than factory farming animals, or whatever this new Salisbury steak is made of? Maybe it's unicorn steak. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't have the IQ required to understand this brilliant episode. I just can't put the pieces together, okay? Maybe I just think it does a disservice to veganism. Well, whatever. Tell me your thoughts in the comments. I'm actually just about to head to bed after having written this whole video so far, just to find out what the new episode will bring tomorrow morning. Oh, I bet it'll be great. I wonder if Rick will fight Rick Prime. Oh boy, how can I even sleep? I'm bursting with anticipation. Oh my god, what an episode! And I even love the new Rick voice. Every once in a while it sounded different in a refreshing way. So I don't want to spoil too much here about this magnificent episode. This episode made it all worth it. All the backstory of Rick Prime and Evil Morty. I thought they were just coming up with this shit as they were going. But now they've reached this glorious climax. I'm not even going to say too much about it until my big retrospective reaches that point. My video series where I review each season of Rick and Morty and catalog all of Rick's gadgets. Subscribe to my main channel, Himsel Games, to view that one. I'm so glad that it all made sense in the end. I was so annoyed that they just told us that Rick had this tragic backstory, but it was all fake, but then it was real after all, and I just couldn't square this circle, until now. And even Evil Morty was there. This episode starts out with the Evil Morty origin story, and it was so good. Yeah, fuck the Ricks for treating the Mortys this way. What's going to happen now? How are things going to change now that we've had the best episode ever? Now Rick is free to go back to whatever episodic adventures he likes. Maybe he'll even turn himself into a foot finally. This episode was so packed with high concept things being thrown at Rick that it makes me feel like a Morty. I can't keep up with this, but I can't wait to watch this gem for years to come. So this is it. Even if Rick and Morty has a really unsatisfying ending, this episode was so good that you can just imagine this was the ending. 7 great seasons of Rick and a satisfying ending. So if you still haven't watched Rick and Morty, go do it now. Watch the show now. This is the best episode of everything ever, and now you can finally fully appreciate it if you've seen the whole show, or at least the lore episodes. So if you need to watch anything ever in your life, watch Rick and Morty. And when you've watched that, go watch my season's retrospective videos. Goodbye everyone, I hope you enjoyed this quick little video on Season 7. I'll probably make another quick one on the remaining 5 episodes of Season 7, and then I'll continue making my in-depth season analysis. Rick and Morty for 100 years, baby! Rick and Morty forever! Subscribe, bye!
Let's watch some crazy stuff, yo!
Wubba lubba dub dub!
Hey, wait a minute, Rick. I thought this was a commercial. What's going on? I mean,
Relax, Morty. Don't worry about it. Let's just see where this goes.